Howdy, welcome back to Dion Talk. In today's video, I'm hanging out with two of my friends, Matt from Lumberjack Landlord and Mike from One Rental at a Time. And I'm gonna ask them to do something that's probably uncomfortable. Three people who've reached financial freedom through buy and hold real estate investing. I wanna find out how long it took each of us to reach financial freedom, how much our freedom number was, and an overall, 3,000 foot view image of what our portfolio looks like today. Mike, you're the largest portfolio, I think. So let's go ahead and start with you.
This is interesting because I usually don't talk about this stuff. Certainly don't talk about it on my channel. I don't want the hate, and I don't want people to get distracted, because I do believe if you get to 4, you can change your life, right? So sometimes when you talk big numbers, it demotivates people. So that's why I don't generally talk about it on my channel. But my financial freedom number, when we were planning, Olivia and I, was probably higher than 95% of the country, right? We needed to get to about $15,500. That was our number to kind of pay for our things. Now, remember, we live in the Silicon Valley. Housing is ridiculously expensive. We have some expenses from raising a child and all of that. So it's a big number, right? $15,500. It took us, again, as it likely happens to most folks, because again, both of us worked. Olivia worked just as hard as I did during the day. Looking back on it, we got there about year 11 or 12 is when we got there, which for us means after the crash and the kind of rebound, to kind of put it in context. The other thing I think is interesting is people would be shocked at how little capital we actually put in, right? We've been doing 1031s, we've done cash out refi. But if you actually look from the money that came from our accounts, so for example, a cash out refi, if we got $50,000 from a cash out refi, I don't include that in what I'm about to talk about, because that came from an asset, right? But I would count the down payment if it came from our place, right? So over the course of now 20 years, in our buy and hold portfolio, we have put in less than $300,000 of personal capital in that portfolio, right? We've 1031'd 8 times. We've done seller financing. We've done seconds. We've done everything we can to get creative. We borrowed from 401ks. We've done car loans. We've done everything we can. Now 300K, I realize, sounds like a lot, but when you break that down to 20 years, and oh, by the way, you realize we started with 40. So really we only put 260 in over 20 years. That's only $13,000 a year. When you kind of break it down in that way. So it's not really that crazy, but yeah, that's kind of our story in a nutshell.
So financial freedom at 11 years to reach $15,000 a month or more, because it's grown since then with that income snowball, and only $300,000 investing out of your pocket. Like you reused capital as it grew in the
absolutely,
which is, I'm really glad I brought this up, because it points out something I'm doing wrong. I've spent about twice as much, and my take home is about half as much. So there is power in using those 1031s and cash out refinances that I'm just not doing.
Yeah, I got to tell you, we got to 3 houses and we were dead broke, or 3 rentals. We were dead broke. That 40 grand was gone. We got house 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, all cash out refis.
Awesome, cool. And so Matt, what was your freedom number and how long did it take you to get there?
So we lived through the crash. And so when we lived through the crash, it, kind of pre-crash or during the crash, I mean, because I like to talk about what was the toughest time, and so we were living on, because we were house hacking, we were living on $1,500 a month.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that sucked. that was the McDonald's. But here's the crazy thing is, because we had tenants just split and stop paying rent, or just stop paying rent. You had to try to evict them. And I literally had to save up the $900 it was going to take to evict them. Like I had to save that up. That was an extremely stressful time. And so, yeah, when it was all said and done, I think it was, we got to the point where kind of pre-crash, I was living on about $1,500 a month because I was house hacking. And kind of through the crash, it ballooned to about $6,000 a month. And so basically all of my income from my W-2 job was essentially, I had to have a good month in sales, because a lot of it was going towards paying my bills for the buildings. that weren't self-sustaining at that point, and we just levered up. What we had done that was kind of a little bit smart, like Ford had done, which is, Ford didn't make the pages nearly as much as GM did during the crash, because Ford, created like a few $1 billion in credit lines and pulled the money out before the crash happened, because they kind of saw it coming.
Right.
GM got dragged through the press and had to do, stock offerings to the government and all this other stuff because they didn't have the same foresight. So it was kind of like the same thing for us, is that, we got a couple credit cards, we got, decent limits based on my income. But my wife was also a student at the time. I was putting her through college at the same time. So I was like, my face was red all the time.
You were hustling.
Yeah, it was scary. It was scary. But yeah, I mean, our, kind of the freedom number for us. So I made a deal with my wife that when she got pregnant, she's younger than I am, much younger than I am. So I said, when we get pregnant, I said, we'll buy our first single family home. I'm that cheap. So I bought my first single family home when I was 40. We moved into our first single family home when I was 40.
But you were house hacking before that.
I was house hacking before that. Yep. House hacking. There's an ocean close to us. And so I would do summer rentals or winter rentals there, super cheap in the winter. And then I'd, get someplace short-term for the summertime that was away from the water. So it wasn't expensive at all. But yeah, I mean, so our number was 1,500, then it was $6,000 just for debt service. And then when it was, hey, we, financial freedom for us and being able to kind of walk away from everything was, probably because we had eventually paid all those debts off. And, I think we got to the point where we could pretty easily live on about $6,000 to $7,000 a month.
Cool.
Wow. And how much do you think you've spent so far investing in these properties?
I never even tracked that. I got to look at it, because honestly, what we would do is I would house hack. So the 4-3-2-1 strategy is exactly what we did. We just didn't start with a 4 unit. So what I would do is I would buy a house, with the down payment. And then when I would I'd fix it up with my own time, effort, energy, and money. And then we would rent it out, and then we would refi it. And I'd recover all the money I put in, all my down payment, a little bit of money on top of that. And then on top of that, I'd live there. And then when we moved, I would then rent out my unit for $1,500 to $1,800 a month. I would be shocked if I was at 300, just because everything was cash out refi, and then the beauty of a 1031.
Yeah, it's that I call it recycling capital.
Yes.
Recycling capital is a big deal.
Yeah. Huge. If you want to grow quickly, recycling capital is really the only way to do it, because for anybody saving up down payment after down payment just from a W-2, that's hard. That's hard.
The best thing about this is I get to disagree with Matt again. And I wish we were recording today when we first logged in, because we were kind of just 3 guys hanging out talking. And one of the things that came out of Matt's mouth was that person was only making $60,000 a year. Why would they buy a multifamily? When I first started, I was making $17 an hour with 3 kids as a single parent. So that was the only income.
Yeah.
Moved into an apartment to rent out the house, so that after a couple of years, I had rental income, so I could buy that next multifamily, counting that rental income in my debt to income ratio. And I've spent a lot more money than you guys have, but I don't feel like I've spent any of it, because it's the income snowball.
Yeah,
sure.
When I first started house hacking, I increased my savings rate by $1,200 a month. So when I say how much I've spent, you guys are both going to go, oh my God, you spent that much and you've only make how much money? Because I'm going to be completely transparent and give like the numbers. Because my channel's small enough to where I don't think I'll piss off enough people to worry about it. But every time I added a new cash flowing asset, I was able to save more for the next down payment. And I've never done a 1031. I've never used a HELOC. My brother used HELOCs and just rinsed and repeated until he had 10 paid off properties. And that was great for him. And what you guys did made both of you grow and scale so much more than me. I mean, I have 7 properties, 16 units. So it's not nowhere near 180 or how many
70-ish, 70 depends. Yeah,
I don't even have enough to go ish.
Yeah. We're closing on a couple more next week, and I honestly don't know the number it brings me to.
Right. So that's awesome. Congratulations to both of you.
Thanks.
And the really cool thing is there's so many different ways to invest in real estate.
Sure.
Not making a lot of money, but house hacking and having that discipline to avoid life creep and just keep adding that savings rate.
Life creep.
I'm coming up a little over 10 years of investing now. My salary at its peak during my investing was $75,000 a year. When I first started, it was $17 an hour, and it slowly crept up. So I did start making more over the years. But I've invested $626,000 into rentals,
Wow.
but it doesn't feel like it because I'm not making a bunch more money. I'm just taking all the money that comes in from rentals and reinvesting it. So financial freedom for me happened at 4 properties, exactly right out of the book, one rental at a time. As a police officer, I was making $2,600 a month take home, and my take home with 4 units, once one was paid off, was $2,700 a month. So I'd reached financial freedom, and then I was house hacking, so I also didn't have a mortgage coming out. So people should be shooting for that 4.
Absolutely.
But once you're there, if you can maintain that, I'm still house hacking.
Yeah.
People
need to hear this. You're still doing it.
Yes.
My gross value of my rental of my properties is over $3 million, like $3,250,000, and I'm living in a unit of a 4-plex. I mean,
Yes,
it's a 1,200 square foot unit with 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a garage, and I have my own shed. And I mean, it's like my own house. But I'm addicted to it because I'm being paid just on this property $1,700 a month because I'm willing to live here with neighbors that I think I've seen twice in the last year, and that was for lease renewals.
Awesome.
So I think I probably could have grown faster if I did the 1031 or the cash out refinances. But what I have is a strong equity position.
Oh, no question.
50% equity over my
that's a good question.
So making $60,000 to $75,000 a year in 10 years as a single parent with 3 kids who started out with a bunch of debt to have a net worth over $1.5 million. I don't know that I'm doing it wrong. I just didn't do it as good as you guys did.
No, let's just go back to that. Reaching financial freedom, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Just because your route was different, right? There's a mountain that I call financial freedom. We all chose buy and hold real estate, right? All 3 of us, we took slightly different paths up that mountain. And that's why we're all a part of this, and all of our experience is interesting. You're not going to get there flipping houses. You're not going to get there wholesaling. These are just another jobs. Buy and hold real estate is where you get financial freedom. And as you've just said, wealth creation. My net worth has gone up to silly numbers because of buy and hold real estate. I could have never gotten there off my W-2 or savings or anything of that nature. So congratulations.
One of the things I've mentioned a few times on different interviews is after Desert Storm, the Marine Corps downsized. And in 2008, the police departments were laying off. So I got laid off, and I kept having my sources of income taken away. And it kind of sounds like I'm saying that sucks and it was unfortunate, but they're probably the best things that ever happened to me, because the Marine Corps and law enforcement are jobs that work towards a pension. Military retirement, left to for law enforcement. And if I knew that at the end of 20 years of doing this, I've got Social Security and a pension, maybe I never would have started investing in real estate. But since those kept being taken away, which losing your source of income is never good for anybody watching, but that's strong motivation to actually pick up a book like One Rental at a Time, to start watching a YouTube channel, and to figure out which is the path that's going to work for you.
Well said.
Totally agree with you. And I don't think there's anything about, I mean, I house hacked for 17 years. I get it. It's the right way to do it. I mean, we didn't do it until we absolutely had to, because we knew our neighbors and any place we lived would hate us with 3 young kids.
3 little kids. Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. It was like, could you please quiet down? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's absolutely the right way to do it. I mean, we waited till the very, very, very last minute. Like it was, a negotiation at the dinner table that when we have a baby, we need our own house. And I was like, okay, yeah, we'll do that. That's fine. So yeah, I think you did it exactly right. And Mike, I mean, this is exactly like what the 4-3-2-1 in your course is all about, right?
Exactly.
This is what it's about. Get in there, start hacking.
Yeah, what you two have brought on top of what was already there is amazing, right? 4-3-2-1 with self-management. Anybody could follow your strategy, Dion. I think it's wonderful. Replace your income with 4 units, continue to grow, income snowball, self-management, still house hacking, live below your means. What is not to love about that story? And Dion Talk Financial Freedom is the place to go for it. So that's, you're doing everything awesome.
But not today.
Right. Whoa.
And the really cool thing with Matt, when you finally got to that point where you thought, okay, so now we're going to go get this house, you moved out of a unit. So
I
that
did.
unit is now pretty much coming
Yeah.
close to probably paying for where you're living now.
I was ridiculous about that, Dion, because I told my wife, I go, we're going to make this work, but we're going to make it work for both of us. So we're going to get into a single family home. Yes, but it's not going to be more expensive than the unit we're renting out. And what was crazy about that is, so we did that, and I bought a house. I'll share the numbers on this one. I bought a house for $227,000. I got a loan from the bank to do $120,000 worth of work to it because it was in really, really, really bad shape, but the location was prime. It was 5 acres on a river.
Wow.
And so I ended up doing that. And I was under the gun because my wife was having a baby in 96 days.
He knows the days.
Yeah. So we got in there and we went, no, absolutely nuts. And we redid the entire thing and it was great. And she was thrilled moving in. I was thrilled moving in, living in a single family home. We did a bunch of customs and extras and things like that. And after being there for 2 years, I got a call from my buddy, who's my broker. And he said, so why don't we sell your house? And I literally hung up on him.
Yeah.
I was like, shut up. So I hung up on him. And then he called me back. He goes, I think we get disconnected. And I go, we got disconnected because I hung up on you. And so he goes, I think we should sell. He's like, I really think we should look at selling your house. So I said, all right, fine. Do the numbers. Let me know. Well, at that point, we'd had my son. We were pregnant with my daughter. And the problem that we looked at was it was on the river and it didn't have a fence all the way around the river. So I was like, yeah, it's kind of a risk. We had done a ton of work. Long story shorter is we put on the market. The number was ridiculous. I had, as you know, 350 something thousand bucks into it, whatever. But we had just crossed that 2-year barrier, the magic 2-year barrier. And we sold for 603.
Score.
Wow.
No taxes.
Yeah. Thanks. So $250,000, no taxes. And we used only a fraction of that to buy into the home that we're in now. That's only amazing. A fraction of that. That actually bought me a couple more rental properties. So it actually bought me the house I'm living in and I think 3 more rental properties. And all of that, the house I live in and those was all based on the equity from this. Because when I bought that house, I want to say I put down like, I think I put down like 20, I think I put down 10% conventional. I think it was like 27 grand or something when I bought that house.
That's amazing.
Well, that speaks to the power of the thing that Mike talks about all the time, being on the property ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody buying a house now isn't going to benefit from selling a house that they've had for a few years to buy that house. And another one of the things where house hacking really kicks in is living in the place that you're selling to get that capital gains 121, what do they call it, exclusion, where up to $500,000, you don't have to pay any taxes on that profit.
That's right. And Dion, we did with Mike. So Mike and I did something called $1 million challenge. Mm-hmm. I think Dion could do the $1 million challenge. I think you could crush the $1 million challenge. The $1 million challenge is you buy a house for 250 grand. And within 12 months, you roll that into $1 million worth of real estate.
That would be a new one for me because.
Oh, you buy turnkey. That's right. A lot of turnkey stuff, right?
So not only turnkey, but
he doesn't roll. He
and
doesn't
renters
sell.
doesn't
really
roll.
Lazy. Like everybody that I talk to that doesn't invest, when they hear you have 16 units, they think, oh, that's so many. And I think, well, it probably could have been 50 or 70,
70-ish. Yeah.
But it's 16 because in the beginning it was over 2 years between those first 2 properties, and then
gap,
a year and a half. So the income snowball is the only thing that's made it happen faster, not because I'm doing something like that challenge. That challenge sounds interesting, but I'm pretty sure my lazy would kick in. I would end up with a $250,000 house.
It's okay.
There's worse things to have.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't thank you both enough for coming on here today. I appreciate your time. Matt, how would people get a hold of you?
Lumberjacklandlord.com or Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube. And, hopefully we'll do some more of these 3-way sessions again. They're a lot of fun, even though I'm wrong a lot.
You're probably never wrong. I just like to point it out.
No, it's fine. It's good. Yeah. I'm good either way.
Mike, how would somebody get a hold of you?
Go to your Google search bar and type in one rental at a time. You should see lots of things: YouTube, book, Instagram, all that stuff.
Awesome. Thank you both. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.